Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pooja Pillai, and I'm here on behalf of the Indian Express to welcome you to the latest edition of e.Adda, a series of informal interactions with news and opinion makers organized by the Indian Express Group. Today at e.Adda, our guest is Captain Amarinder Singh. This month, he moves into the 5th year of his term as the Chief Minister of Punjab. This is after a year that was perhaps one of the most challenging of his term, with the impact of COVID-19 and the farmers' protests. The captain will be in conversation today with Anant Goenka, Executive Director, the Indian Express Group, and Vandita Mishra, National Opinion Editor, the Indian Express. The Indian Express e.Adda is presented by PCL Housing in association with MIDC, Sonalika, Surya, and Experion. Before I end, I would like to request the audience to please put any comments and questions you might have in the chat box. Thank you.
Great, thanks Pooja. Captain Amarinder Singh, very warm welcome to Express Adda. It's not the first time you've been here. You were at the Express Adda, I think 2 or 3 years ago with my colleague Vandita Mishra. This time around, you'll have to suffer me as well as this incredibly vibrant and strong, very interested and intelligent audience. It's what really makes the Adda platform so unique, is the audience that we get. So I think just to get started, and so this, because the audience is one that will, I'm sure, dissect everything you say very closely. To help us dissect these answers, can you just start by clarifying, are we talking to Captain Amarinder Singh on his last year in active politics, or are you going to contest again next year?
Well, look, I had said so before this election that this is going to be my last term, but it's not going to be my last term till I can get Punjab out of the woods, and I think it's my duty. And not only my duty, my love is my state. I resigned twice from Parliament to be with my state. And I have been now 52 years, this is my 52 years in politics. And I take, a lot of interest in doing what I can to pull us out of this mess, whether it's industrial mess or an agricultural mess or whatever mess it may be. I feel if I can even do a little bit, it's my contribution. So I intend to stay on, and I intend to fight it, and I intend to win it.
That's wonderful to hear, and you have a lot of fans also who are here, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to kind of hear that. If I can just ask you, what made you change your mind, sort of to kind of stay on?
I think, when I came, we didn't have all the clear facts in front of us. For instance, our finances are in a terrible mess. The previous government, for instance, what government of India should be contributing to us in the food bill, for instance, they added on 31,000 crores onto it, and our government, our previous government, instead of opposing it, accepted it as a loan. So, my debt has been going up and up and up. That's one. Secondly, they had no industrial policy. There was nothing at all going. I have, in the last 2-3 years, brought in 71,000 crores of industry, which is not MOUs, but actually going on the ground. And that, I think, is important for us to see it through to the top, and that makes its contribution. Agriculture-wise, we've done a great job. This year has been a record harvest, wheat harvest, and a paddy harvest. Punjab has never had so much. So every way it seems to be working, but you need time. Everything needs time. And I need that time to be able to really say that I am now going to hang up my boots.
And was Biden at all any inspiration? Somebody of a similar vintage taking as President of America?
How old is Biden?
I think he's 78, right, Vandita?
Is he? I'm 1 year older than him then. So, I don't know.
Captain Singh, maybe we can get on. I think the biggest issue, the most newsy issue, obviously, is the changes in the farm law and the farm bill. How do you see this playing out?
Look, we have a system in Punjab which has worked for 100 years, which is the Artiya system. It's a system where the commission agents are there and the farmers are there. They have a relationship between them, and the farmer always goes to the Artiya when he's in the moment of crisis, and he takes whatever advance he wants to do, a wedding or somebody's ill or some other problems he has. So it's a system that's worked. Why are you messing around with this system, number one? Secondly, Punjab has contributed since 1967. We are 2%, and we contribute 40% to the nation's food pool. When you make laws, you must consult the people who are in this. Now, in this case, we were not consulted at all. Not that we would have agreed to what they wanted us to agree to, like they've done now. But we had a right to put our views there, and maybe they would have thought our views were correct. Now here they go ahead and move three farm laws, and they have been totally rejected by everybody. In my house, I was the first to bring a bill, and all it was for the first time unanimity amongst all parties, and we amended whatever the national bills were, and took it to the governor and gave it to him, send it to the president now for his assent. So my point is that there is a very heated feeling here. When you take the stakeholders into conference, you must take every stakeholder. I am the biggest producer and contributor to the food pool, and I'm not even in the discussion stage. I had to write to the Prime Minister that you are discussing an agriculture bill for us, for the country, and I am the one who contributes the maximum, and we've done it since 1967. And you are not even put us on as a member of the committee to discuss this issue. And I said, that's not on. And then by that time, they had a meeting and they decided on the policy. Then after the Prime Minister put Punjab on the board, there was no policy discussed. It was just some financial matter. And then they were told, now go back home, government's taken a decision. That's not the way you decide on such major issues.
But Mr. Singh, you've described a situation that became the breeding ground for the agitation. But after that, things have moved. We have had 12 rounds of discussion between farmer unions and the center. We've had the January 26 violence and the setback it delivered to the movement. We now have a situation where the farmers' agitation is no longer in the headlines. The government is not thinking of or making any move to talk to them. The 18-month reprieve that was given by the government has been rejected by the farmers. So where do you see this going? Is there a middle path left anymore? Or is it going to be just back to repeal?
Please, Punjab has, this business of everything left, and it's not so. I had one farmer union. That farmer union opted out. Then you have two farmers union, Rajewal and Lakkawal, who belongs to the Badal group. And then there are other groups from various parts, but basically Southern Punjab. Southern Punjab has traditionally had this sort of farmer movement, whether it's the Muzara movement or whether it was the Naxal movement or whether it was the Khalistani movement or some movement, is always Southern Punjab that dominates. So it is that again which is coming to the forefront. And these are farmers are linked, are backed by everybody in Punjab. I've got 13,000 villages. Every village is contributed. Even today, I saw in the morning's papers that there is a whole lot of people are going to join the Singhu border, and they're all preparing to go. Now, this is happening because they believe it's not them. These are all old farmers. They're all sitting there. Youngsters are on the fields. The others are all sitting there. Their mothers are sitting there. Children are sitting there. Why? Because they realize that if something happens, it's going to be the end of the farming community's lucrativeness in Punjab. Why can't you just allow things to carry on? I don't understand why the government is being so rigid about this. You have amended the Constitution of India how many times? 111, 112, I don't know how many times. If you withdraw these bills once, sit with the farm community and talk to them and ask them, all right, here we withdraw this. Now please tell us, what do you want? What is wrong with this? And what do you want us to replace? And then come to some suggestion and do it. But here, this fait accompli business that you just throw it on somebody and say it's done, they are not going to agree. I can tell you that, yes, government may not agree. They've talked 12 times, they may talk 15 times, they may talk 20 times. That's not the issue. The issue is, unless you can convince the farmer that what we are doing is in his larger interest, not only his interest today, his son's interest and his grandson's interest, then only he will come back. He won't come down otherwise.
Yeah, but my question
I know. You talk about this farmer. Who are the farmers? I've got 13,000 villages. I've got nearly 200,000 servicemen who are wearing uniforms. I've got people who are maybe even the same number who have retired from the army like myself and out in the civil world. They're also living in their villages. So if you add up, there are about 30, 40 people from the services sitting in the villages. I bet you with Singhu border and the other one, there would be a whole lot of army. If you talk to them, every third one will say, we ex-army. Yeah. So my point of saying this is it's not a Naxal movement, as people make out. My soldiers are not Naxal. I'm not a Naxal. I mean, these are things that they can belong to any political ideology. But fact is that there are people who are looking to their future and to the future of their families, and they see a bleak future. That is why they're doing it.
No, Mr. Singh, my question was, is a middle path still possible, or is it back to either repeal or else?
Well, I have said this before, and I say it again, and the farmers didn't like it when I said it, but I say it again, that every battle, every war has to end in an agreement, whether it's the First World War which ended, whether the Second War ended, anything you have, disagreements eventually come, whether they are corporate disagreements or anywhere. So you have to sit down. You sit down and resolve it. And it is for the government to come to that, because they are the ones who created the bill with an open mind. And I think if you sit with them again and continue, and they get the impression that, yes, the government is being serious about it, I'm sure you'll find some solution.
If I could ask one more question here. Do you get the impression, Mr. Singh, that for the center, the fact that Punjab is, that the BJP doesn't have very high electoral stakes in Punjab, the fact that, Punjab didn't really participate in the Modi wave in 2014 and then in 19, do you think that that also is inhibiting the outreach from the center right now? The political calculation.
Why Punjab? You've got people from Uttarakhand, you've got people from UP, you've got people from Rajasthan, you've got people from Haryana. You saw when Haryana tried to block the bridge, they picked up all these cranes and all and threw them over the bridge. Now these things. It's not Punjab is not doing it. Yes, everyone they wanted me to stop people moving. I said I can't stop people moving. It's a question of it's a constitutional right of everyone to go and protest. And if any of my farmers or anybody wishes to go and protest in front of the national capital, they have every right to do so. I'm not going to stop anybody. I believe that we have a constitution, and I believe that we have every farmer has the right under that constitution to say what he wishes to say to his government of power, who is in power. And the power center is Delhi. So they want to go and make their point clear there. And I think it is Delhi who should sit down and talk to them. I mean, there's no point carrying on like this. How many people? I have had 112 which had died till yesterday. My farmers from Punjab, I don't know how many have died from other states. I have given each one I know, because each one I'm giving 5 lakhs of rupees, and one of their children I'm taking into a government job. So I know what sort of thing is happening here. And why? How long do you want this to carry on? How many more people do we want them to die?
Captain Singh, the question, is, and I think you've said this before, that status quo for farmers and just the way it's set up in India between the relationship between farmers and government, you've never said that there shouldn't be reform. In fact, you've always said that some things have to move and things have to change. In Punjab specifically, if I were to ask you, I think you've said before that it is both ecologically and economically not sustainable, the way farming in Punjab is continuing. So at times I feel like you're sounding like you want status quo, but then you've also believe the status quo is not sustainable. So
I don't. It's not a question of status quo. It is that, yes, you're right. There's the problem. Our glaciers are melting. Our river waters are falling. Our groundwater is falling. We have to have a change. I became agriculture minister of the state in 1985. And then I was agriculture of the state from 2002 to 2007. When I was chief minister, I retained the portfolio. Today, again, for the last 4 years, I've retained the portfolio because that is my love, my subject. And I have always maintained this. Now, what is required is a diversification. You have to get out of high water requirement crops like paddy, for instance. But if now paddy gives a farmer a very lucrative price. If you want to change it, you have to change the cropping pattern, and then you want to arrange a system where the farmer can be assured that this is the price I'm going to get. Now, under the system which exists, the MSP system, with the supported by the Food Corporation of India, both wheat and rice, every farmer knows what I'm going to get. But he doesn't know what he's going to get for dal, or whether it is what he's going to get for some other crop, or maize or something like that. They announce support prices, but they don't support it. Now you've got to support that. That's one. That's the way we can change it. But I know my problems. Our principal problem is water. And today the flow, there are glaciers. When I was posted the first time on this Chinese border in 63. I remember glaciers there, which were you couldn't cross them because you had hobnail boots and you would slip off. It was black ice all over the case. And I went there some years ago, just a trip to revive old memories, and there's no glacier. It's only rock. So everything is disappearing. So we know that is happening. And water here, when my father built his house in Patiala, the ground water was 17 feet. Now it's 350 feet. Suppose it goes to 350 feet. How is my little farmer who owns 1 acre or 2 acres of land, how is he going to put a tube well to pump that water? He can't. The cost of a tube well for 350 feet will be something like 2.5 or 3 lakhs. How is he going to do it? He can't do it. So that way I'm in a crisis. River water is in a crisis. So we have to come to an understanding when the government of India must wake up and tell us that yes, in diversification, you come up with a proposal, we'll back it. Then I can try and get the farmer off those crops where this, like sugarcane takes a lot of water, paddy takes a lot of water. Let me get out of these, but you have to help it. But first, we have to start with some sort of confidence building measure between our Punjab farmer and the government of India.
And what specific steps I can ask you, maybe, maybe, if you can simplify the answer for us, because we're obviously not agriculturalists and we don't understand these things like you do, obviously. But what are the few steps that you think you would suggest the government should actually do that would work to fix the ecological and the economic problem?
Look, it's difficult for me to say because the farmers have very clearly said that we want politicians to lay off. Some chaps like Kejriwal forcing themselves on the farmers by making these funny announcements yesterday and all. But they have made it clear that this is our fight. It's our fight against government of India, and please, politicians, stay off. So we have never interfered. I don't interfere other than ensuring that nobody blocks their road. If they want to go and come, they are free to go and free to come because that's our right to do that. But other than that, I don't. So for me to suggest something that what can possibly bring about some settlement would mean encroaching on their territory. And I don't want to encroach on their territory when they've clearly told us, kindly stay out and let us deal with this.
Mr. Singh, you just said that farmers are keeping the politicians out, that they have been insisting that politicians should not be on the stage in their agitation as well. Does that not worry you as a senior political leader, the Chief Minister of Punjab who spent so many years in politics, the fact that a people's movement should say no to the people's representatives and that it should keep them completely out? Particularly looking ahead at the assembly election coming next year, do you think that there is a great challenge for all political parties to win back the people's trust?
I think as far as the farmers are concerned, they are not representing any particular community. You have congressmen there, you have Akalis there, you have our people there, you have communists there, you have everybody there. It's across the board. Nobody is looking at it politically. Nobody is making political speeches. They are only talking about their agriculture and whatever they want from the government of India. So I don't think that is going to be a problem. I think, apart from farmers, there's so many things which we have done. And I think people are responding to that. Whether it's good education. Have you ever heard of a situation, for instance, that from a time when children were leaving government schools and going to private schools, the process is reversed. I'm now getting more people from the private schools into government schools because we've got smart schools, we've got very good education, and this time the results in the 10th have been better than private schools. Now, these are sort of things that people look at. Then we are putting wellness clinics in all our villages. There's so many things going on. So people are not going to just look at this. This is farmers versus GOI, and here it is, what have we achieved for the state?
But the fact that the Punjab politicians are being booed away from farmers' gatherings, that does not worry you?
No, I don't. Why should it bother? Which farmer has been booed away? Nobody's booed away.
The politicians have been booed away at different...
No. If any politician, after being told that we don't want you here, decides to go and stand on the stage, then obviously he deserves to be booed away. I mean, he has no business to be there. If they don't, how can you just force yourself on somebody? If they don't want you, then they don't want you. You stay at home and listen to see what's going on and let the farmers deal with the problem. The day they say, okay, we want your help, I'm there for them if they need me.
And Captain Saab, when do you feel that, climate change and, all these all these incredible stats that you just shared with us. When do you see these things becoming centered to, political conversations, when become central to the, to when will they become campaign issues, like they kind of are in developed countries?
When will they come into the campaign?
Yes, like when will these become issues that, politicians will actually campaign on, they become issues that people vote on?
I think everyone does. I mean, whenever we have our political rallies we've had in the past, now I've of course stopped it for the next 2 weeks with this COVID business, but we have always, everyone talks, the primary subject is for the farmers. Everyone is our party, or whether it's the
climate change and the melting glaciers is primary, is central to political campaigning?
No, this is one of your main subjects. I mean, you've got 200 and something thousand people sitting there and coming and going and coming and going. So this is something which is definitely going to be very much there. But then law and order also is a problem. That nobody seems to be worried about. I'm worried about it. But because my neighbor seems to always like to mess around with us, and he's trying to mess around with us again. And he hopes that this farmer agitation, when it heats up, and if the government of India takes no decision, then some of those heated chaps, youngsters, would be game to playing with them. And that is something that I have to watch out for, because I have seen in the last, ever since October, since this farmer agitation started, there has been an increase in weapons coming into Punjab. There are drones coming to Punjab. I've got, you know how many weapons I've received since October? 1,900 weapons, which we have caught, which drones we have picked up. That's pistols and automatic rifles and all. 11,000 rounds of ammunition I have picked up. And these are the things, who are they meant for? There is no cell here which can say that we are, very few cells, let's say, who are Pakistani-oriented cells. They are there. But they don't have that the sort of numbers to use these weapons. So they are waiting for some disgruntlement to build up, so that then they can then get recruits for this. I've already caught, I think the figures are here with me. I think we've eliminated 32 terrorist gangs. I've caught 238 gangsters who are now terrorists who are in jail. Some had to be shot in the encounters that took place with the police. Now that sort of thing is going on. So these are chaps are from there. They are happy to use any situation, and they've got a good situation now to use. And therefore, my mind is on that too. And I've got to stop that happening. Grenades are coming in. A lot of grenades have been flown in. Heroin is being flown in. These are Chinese drones. When they come, these Chinese drones, they carry 5 pistols with two magazines of 10 rounds each with each pistol. They carry heroin, they carry counterfeit currency, and what we shoot down, we pick up, they get entangled in wire or something, and they can't take off again. We pick up. What about those that we haven't picked up? They've reached their destination. So you are also getting that sort of build-up taking place. Not only heroin is sent for money. They don't want to send Indian rupees. Also, heroin is much more lucrative to be sold on the streets, so that the terrorism business can get more money. So some money, heroin, and weapons. Now that is the thing I'm worried about, because any agitation that starts can contribute to this. Not that it's contributing at the moment. People are not bothered about this. They're looking at their own stomach and their food and their fields. But you never know when people get into this sort of a thing. I've seen it happening in Punjab. Mr. Goenka, I've seen Punjab at a time when in that terrorist period, 35,000 Punjabis' blood was spilled in our streets. And I don't want that to happen again. And as long as I'm here, by God, I won't let it happen again.
Mr. Singh, how worried are you that there is a hardliner fringe in Punjab as well that has remained dormant and that could be stoked by, all this interference by Pakistan and others?
This is something that can always happen. I've seen it happening. 52 years is a long time in politics, And I've been through the Blue Star period. I've been through the post-Blue Star period. I've been through the period when my chief minister was assassinated. I've been subsequently into the other period. It nearly started again. Had we started digging the SYL canal again, and I had to risk my own job by refusing to allow that, by finishing off that bill in the assembly. And, so these are things that one has to always, because I've got a 600-mile border right from Aknoor down to Fazilka with Punjab, with Pakistan, and they have an open access. Now, earlier it used to be tunneling under the wire or crossing the river. Now you've got drones, and these drones will increase in capacity. At the moment they're small, they'll become bigger and bigger, and then there'll be other things. So that is why I went to the Home Minister and spoke to him, and I said, you have to find some system of bringing these drones down. There was a time I asked the Air Force. Air Force said that they're too small and they fly too low. We can't deal with it. Unless you give your BSF, because the front line is BSF, unless you get BSF some sort of weapon which has low flying radar capability and to shoot them down with some sort of weaponry or small missiles or whatever they have. Nowadays, I'm sure there's so much advancement in this that there's bound to be something somewhere. So that is what I've said to him. And this was just before this agitation was on. And he said he's looking at it. So I hope they're looking at it, because it's not only us, it's in Kashmir, it's happening. A lot of the weapons I picked up in the short of the Jammu in Pathankot region were all destined for Kashmir.
So what is your sense, Mr. Singh? How receptive is the center to these concerns that you are flagging?
This is certainly they're concerned about this, 100% too. No government can be not concerned about this, what Pakistan is up to, that's for sure. But the question is that we have to act fast. One way is diffuse the tension. And that is in Delhi, they want to diffuse. And second is prepare for what these jokers want to do from across the border.
If actually we can elaborate now, since we've spoken about Pakistan and across the border, let's maybe spend some time on that. How closely did you see the general's comments? I think 2 weeks ago now, and what do you make of the future?
He always says things which he doesn't mean. This is Bajwa, General Bajwa, and this Bajwa is the same guy who well, anyway, let's not talk about the past, but certainly now. It's all well saying that we should bury the hatchet and we should go move together. Is he speaking saying this on his own behalf, on behalf of the Pakistan Army? You have the ISI. Does he control the ISI? Will ISI say the same thing? These operations are all ISI operations. Is he going to do this? Is the Navy, is the Air Force, are they all the generals, the corps commanders who run that country, are they on board? Or is it only Mr. General Bajwa shooting off his mouth? That's all. I don't believe them at all. I don't trust them. Look, in 1964 December, I was asked by the army commander then, General Harbakh Singh, if I'd like to be his ADC. I said, yes, sir, I'd be honored. I went to his ADC, Western Command. Western Command then existed from the UP border, across Ladakh, across Kashmir, across Punjab, across Rajasthan, down to Gujarat. That was Western Command. Yeah. I don't remember one day, and that time the Chinese were giving us a lot of assistance, the Americans were giving us a lot of assistance, because the China war had just finished. Right. And they used to send us what we call situation reports, morning, afternoon, evening, 3 times we got a situation report. I don't remember one day when there was no firing on that border in Kashmir by Pakistani troops, not Chinese, but that was also recorded, and we knew which pickets, who went to, how much ammunition went, everything which was going on. And from 1964 to now we are 2020, and we've still got the same thing going on. So what is this Bajwa saying? Let him get everyone on board, including his civil administration and all his military chaps around him, and these ISI fellows and all around him, and then talk. So he's got to what Shekhar says, walk the talk. He should do that.
And go ahead, Vandita.
Yeah. So we are in the middle of now a round of state elections, 5 important state elections, and if you look, in West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee is playing to the Hindutva gallery while she does other things. In Delhi, which is not going to elections, but we've seen Kejriwal government take out a Desh Bhakti budget. So on these 2 issues, the secularism and nationalism / patriotism, what do you subscribe to? There can be 2 arguments. One, that you have to play the BJP's game to win against the BJP. The other is that you refuse to play on the BJP's ground. What would you?
I think India has been a democracy for too long. India has seen a different system for too long. whether they are Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, or Buddhists, or whoever they may be, Christians. We are all part of one camp. That's why the other day I said this when somebody said that, Haryana is reserving so much for Haryanvis, and Uttarakhand is so much for them, and Himachal so much for Himachalis. I said, I am Indian. I'm for all Indians. I don't believe in this business of this either religion or regionalism and all that. How will this country grow if we start talking like this? If you are going to bring everything into communalism and everything into casteism, or everything into this thing, everything we are brought up against, all our freedom struggle which was against, we are coming back to square one again. Forget that. Look at my own religion, Sikh religion. What was the Sikh religion? Why did Guru Gobind Singh Ji, why was the Langar started? Langar was started that everyone from every community could sit together and wait when they know you. Nobody used to sit with anybody there. And you can be fed by anybody, and you can eat yourself. I mean, these were religions which brought out secularism. And that is our country. And if we don't believe in that, then this country won't have any future. If we are going to break us into little community and communal details, I'm not for it. And I don't believe that any chief minister should have the right to say that you can't come. I want to ask the Himachal chief minister, what right is he to stop a Punjabi from going to buy land there? Why is the Rajasthan people stopping people from buying there? We don't stop anyone. Anyone from any state can come. They can come from Kerala and come and buy land in Punjab. I have no problem. I don't know why. What is this business we are doing now? This is something we are totally isolating ourselves, and we are forgetting what India is supposed to be, a secular democracy.
Your book on the 62 war, I believe, is recommended reading, across the world actually. And so you've studied, obviously, you're an incredible military historian. One of the things that I've actually gathered, in my sort of interactions with, especially editors and journalists across the world, is that after World War II, the lesson of World War II is actually deeply ingrained in their DNA, which is to sort of fight on authoritarianism, and this kind of the inherent conviction they have in democracy really comes from, I think, World War II. What lessons do you think India has taken from its wars?
Our wars?
From our wars. What cultural, political, social lessons?
You're referring to the Monsoon War. That is about the 1965.
Sorry.
Monsoon War, it's called. It's about the 1965 operations. And that was written jointly by General Tejinder Shergill and myself. We were both postmates from the army, and together, and we wrote it. He's retired and here with me. Now, what lessons can you learn from this? The lessons you can learn, number one, is I can't understand this. Every day I see reports that Chinese have now pulled back, great things have happened. You mark my word, this summer they will come back. These fellows, we learn nothing. You haven't seen the Chinese. I'm writing a book now on the China-India business, and I've gone back from the time of the emperors of China, and I've come down to Mao, and I've come down right up to this Deng, and then now to this chap. And do you think they care? They have made a clear-cut pattern. They want to recover all the territory they have lost over the centuries, and they have got us marked. We are Southwestern Command of theirs. And then they've got other places marked, including areas in Russia, including a very interesting article which came out, written by a Chinese lady who had some sort of a Chinese think tank. And she lives in China. And she has made it clear that by this year, China will get back this, Taiwan, and then India, and then Indonesia, and then Malaysia, and God alone knows what. And today a report comes out in the front page of the Hindu, that today there is the Pakistan, the Chinese army is the most powerful in the world. I thought that things were a bit slower and it would take 10 years for China to catch up. But China already seems to have overtaken the Americans. Now that's a Hindu report. Now, right or wrong, I can't say. But it's interesting to know that they're moving very fast militarily. And I think if you trust them, and second part is, the collusion, which is there going to be between them and Pakistan. They are now they built the Karakoram highway, okay? Now they are building a Karakoram highway across the Karakoram Pass, under the range, a train link up with Tibet. and that's going to come, and they're going to go down along the, it goes to Karachi and then turns right to Gwadar. You've given them a Chinese, the facility of, and this, by the way, this is going to cost about $28 billion, this new tunnel which they're building. And then they're going to link up at Gwadar, and you've given the Chinese Navy access for their port there, and you are going to see a collusive war whenever it does take place. So we have to be prepared for both sides. I have to be prepared in my little way to see that this doesn't happen and there's nobody supporting them. And the Indian Defense Services have to be prepared for both sides, there and here. And therefore, I think, we should keep that in mind. I'm sure the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Army Staff, Air Staff, Navy Staff, all are doing this and looking at this issue. But it's a question of giving them the equipment. You have to, the carpenter requires tools before he can produce something. Same as the army, you've got to have weapons. How do you fight? And you've got to have weapons that can match the weapons of the Chinese and match the weapons of these characters on the western border. Then only, but make sure that whenever this happens, you can assume, and that's my own conviction, that you're going to have a collusive war.
Mr. Singh, to bring you back to domestic politics and to your party. So whenever you are asked about the Congress crisis, your answer generally, your stock answer is that there are cycles and that what comes up goes down and that this too shall pass. But I'm hoping that you shall say more today, because it's not just a leadership crisis. We've seen that you don't have a Congress president after so many months after Rahul Gandhi stepped down. But it is also more fundamental than that. It is it's a crisis of ideas. Nobody seems to know what the Congress stands for, much less the Congress itself. It does not seem to be able to communicate it to the people either. So as a very, very senior congressman and somebody who's held his own all these years, what would you say is the way forward for the Congress?
First thing is, I do have a Congress president, and there she is, just behind me. Yes,
she's an interim Congress president right now.
That's a picture, but that's not the point. It's parties come and parties have upheaval, parties change. This is not only in us. Look all over the country. Where are the parties? I mean, for instance, Punjab, I knew where the CPM was, CPI was. They don't exist. I know where the BJP was. They don't also seem to exist. I know the Akalis are breaking up. Everything, there's realignments take place in all parties. So it's taking place in our party too. I'm sure I think we have made it clear that after these elections are over, the Congress is going to have an AICC session and elect its own president. And so I'm sure that is only a couple of months down the line. And I think we should wait for that. But we will have a person. And you can't just write off a party by saying that, you don't have a leadership or there's a confused message coming out from there. There's never a confused message. Fact is, this party has 100 and some years old. We have everybody, every village knows who a congressman is. I can tell you, name me any village in Punjab which doesn't have a Congress group. There's not there. And I'm sure this is the state, because this is the freedom party that brought freedom to India. And it's something that people remember. Okay, people come now, the Hindutva wave is on, they wanted to build the mandir and that sort of thing, so people may shift here and somebody may do something else in some other state. Finally, the Congress party is there, and if there's any secular face of this in this country, it is the Congress party.
Would you not agree that much of the Modi BJP's success is built on Congress failures? That on most crises, the fact is that they can simply point to the Congress and say the Congress did this before us. Whether it's secularism or it's liberalism, all the crisis of the big principles is they can just turn back and say the Congress did it first.
Congress did what first?
The corruption scandals, the compromises with secularism.
The country has not got corruption scandals. We are dealing with it. I've got here is my book, where I just now, 4 years of our finishing, 4 years of our performance in Punjab. And corruption is one of the major things we've dealt with in this. I mean, these scandals may take place. They will take place again. If the BJP is not out, somebody will pull out a scandal of theirs. This is going to happen. This happens in which country doesn't happen?
But
You
Mr.
have
Singh,
it
it's
in
not just.
America, you have it in England, you have it in all over the world. You have it. These scandals are there. You'll deal with them.
No, it's
Government,
not just the big corruption scandals. It's also the everyday smaller failure to stand up for principles of free speech, for instance. All the draconian laws were brought in by the Congress, which are now being weaponized by the BJP, whether it's UAPA or it's, sedition.
well, these whatever the laws were, sometimes wrong laws are brought. I think Rahul himself has said that the emergency was a mistake. He said so publicly. Now you can introspect and you can find out that things are right or wrong or whatever it is that happens. But don't think that this doesn't happen in our country, or by the BJP being there, everything's going to disappear. Nothing's going to disappear. It is going to be there and it is going to carry on, and we'll have to just, any government that comes in will have to face these issues, because we are growing at a very fast rate. We are going to be 1.4 billion now. We've crossed, and we are going to carry on, and this is going to add to our problems. I was going to just mention something, but it's not that to mention. China is much less than us, and we are overtaking them also. So when these things happen, why is my law and order breaking down today? Let me tell you. Why do I have instances where law and order is broken down and people have been caught? Yesterday in Amritsar, we caught somebody had raided a jeweler and taken 26 lakhs of his jewelry and all out of there. Because, again, there is no money. The farmers short of money. The industry has not really taken off the way it would be. We've had 1 year of COVID. People didn't have money. So these are things which this is going to happen. Then we deal with it. And we've dealt with it. We've caught the fellows. We caught those guys. We caught another 2 who committed a murder, and we caught them in the first go. So we are working very fast on these things. So these things happen. I don't look at these as a problem that can't be resolved. I think anything, whether it is corruption or whether it is any sort of wrong policy, policies change. You can't have static policies. A policy made in 1947 may be outdated in 2020. You've got to find a new policy. And you've got to frame it again, and you've got to come up. This is what I'm saying on agriculture policies too. They've made a policy which they think is workable, but it's not workable. Therefore, change it. And therefore, if you want to have another amendment in the Constitution, then bring it to the amendment, and let's amend the Constitution and sit down and make it. So policies keep coming and policies keep changing. And I think, why has the Constitution been changed 111 or 12 times? There has to be a reason for it. Because times change, and with time changes, the situation changes, and the requirements are different.
But Captain Saab, you have always been, very strong supporters of the Gandhi family. I remember, I think, you said that, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi should be vice president. At that time, you were sort of very vocally supporting the Gandhi family's leadership of the Congress.
Yes.
Are you still just as supportive, and do you still have that conviction?
101%. Look, I have known Rajiv Gandhi. We were just 1 year difference in school. He came to school in 54, and I have known him since then. Thorough gentleman, wonderful person. All times have passed. Then Mrs. Gandhi has been an excellent president for me. People may say, and not for me, for the country. People may say anything, but I've seen her working. She's very perceptive. She's excellent in what she's doing. And now generations change, time changes. Give a person a chance. You just start attacking Rahul Gandhi for whatever he's saying, or Priyanka ji. And I know them both very well. And they're both very presentable, young, perceptive leaders to be. Give somebody a chance, for God's sake. The trouble is that everyone wants to think that Indira ji with so many years experience is going to come and sit in the chair tomorrow, or Pandit ji with so many years experience will come, or even Vajpayee ji, who I found was a very fine prime minister. I was chief minister when he was prime minister, and I know how he dealt with him. And he used to come and he can come and sit. You have Shastri ji, very fine leaders. So everyone needs time to grow into a position. Mrs. Gandhi now is there. She's a very fine person. She wants to hand over to somebody else. So she wants it to be done. Let the AICC decide. And I hope that Rahul will agree. And I also hope that Priyanka ji will carry on, because she's a very, very fine lady. and a very perceptive lady. And I've known them since they were little children. I've seen them grow. And it's for me, I think I would be very happy to see the nation in their hands.
But Mr. Singh, the Modi-led BJP is a particularly formidable opponent. So to fight the Modi BJP, what are the one or two or three things that you think the Congress has to do, which it has not done before?
You see, the thing is, when you have a communal way policy, which is there, so there's nothing that nobody looks then. Then it's a question of everyone turns to religion. India is a person which responds very much to religion, a country. And I think here, when you have got the mandir being built, everybody is looking in that direction. So today, India is not looking in the secular frame. I hope it will start looking in the secular frame. At the moment, it's looking that way. But the time will come and change. I think everyone comes and goes. I mean, I've seen it happening here. Kalidal, there used to be Khalistan movement here. Where is it Khalistan movement gone? Finished. And these are things that happen. They happen and go. And I hope that this issue will also, because it's not that I don't want mandirs built or gurdwaras built or mosques built or churches built. I want everyone to build them, but that's a private business. I don't want it to be used politically. And that is why I'm saying that I believe in total secularism. I am an old soldier. We all believe, none of us knew. Do you know that when it's not that we were ignorant, but when I was in the army as a young officer, I knew the name of my president and prime minister and defense minister, and that was it. I didn't know anything else because we were not looking at that. It was our own little world in the army which we looked at, and our own family, which was our regiment, and that sort of thing that we worked in. So that is the way I want India. I want India to be a secular India. I don't want India to be a communal India.
You mentioned the Khalistan movement that did go away, and that the politics triumphed over it, but a lot of political effort went into that happening. So do you see the Congress today making that kind of political effort to fight the BJP?
Well, here we have, I don't think the BJP exists with Punjab, let me tell you. There's no BJP today. Punjab, whole of Punjab is geared up against the BJP here. I mean, all these farmers are all anti-BJP and their policies on the farming institute. So there's nothing there. But certainly otherwise also, as I said, it's within the Punjab, I know what's happening. Outside the Punjab, it seems to be at the moment on the communal wave. It's not yet going to be over. But having said that, let us see the results of these elections. Because I was only day before yesterday talking to Prashant Kishore. He's very confident of Bengal. And I was talking to confident of Pondicherry. He's confident of DMK winning down there. So things are changing. You want to change, here's a change coming. That you're fighting a force which is relying on communism, and then the country is going the other way. That's, I think, a good thing.
You mentioned Prashant Kishore. Why does a politician like Amarinder Singh or a politician like Mamata Banerjee need a Prashant Kishore?
Why does Biden need it? Why did Johnson need it? Why did Macron need it? Why did Merkel need it? They all have, you have political, campaign strategists with every party. Why did Clinton need it? Why did Nixon need it? Everyone had campaign strategists. So he's a campaign strategist. Let him carry on, because he's doing a good job for us last time. I bet you he's going to do a good job for us this time.
Captain sir, before we open to the audience, and there's a lot of audience and a lot of people who I'm sure you want to also hear from. I just wanted to spend a minute on the drug situation in Punjab, and I've witnessed myself just how horrible the situation was, and it was actually we've done a lot of reports on just how terrible the rehabilitation centers also were. We investigated, we found syringes in rehabilitation centers. And you said that when you get elected, you need 4 weeks to fix the problem. Are you happy with the progress?
I never said I need to fix the problem. I said very categorically that in 4 weeks, I will break the backbone of this movement. This is what I said. And you cannot, look, we've set up an SIT, a very powerful SIT. We have got, I think there are about 4,000 people in jail now who the druggie business, some upper chaps, some lower, up and lower. I've extradited people from Albania, 2 of them, 1 from Rome, and 1 is in the Hong Kong jail, which the Chinese are not giving him yet to us. But But these are the real big. Somebody asked me with the big wigs and small wigs and whatever they are, but these big wigs. 3 of them have already come back, and one we are waiting for the Chinese to give to us from that place. Other than that, we have broken the back here. There is nothing happening now. If you ask me, drugs are whether they're on the market, of course they're on the market. Where are they coming from? Drugs are coming. The Indian Army is occupying one of the most strategic locations called Uri. Uri is one of the ingress points for drugs. Then you have got drugs coming from Nepal. I've got drugs coming from this Kandla port. A whole lot, 750 kilos worth thousands of crores we got. We and the BSF coming from Kandla. So they are coming from all. Delhi is one of your biggest hubs. They come from Delhi also. And this is what's happening all over. That it's coming. So we fight it. We try to hold it. We are in touch with all the states. I've tried to bring all the states together to let us sit down and fight this battle together. Unfortunately, when the 4 chief ministers met, 5 chief ministers, after that, COVID came, and everything came to a standstill. This was March last year. And I hope that those, but our officers are in touch with each other. So there's a lot of collaboration going on this anti-drug business. What was a problem for us was those people who are drug addicts. They wouldn't go to our drug centers because they were worried. They were worried more about social stigma. So they used to go to private centers to get themselves done. Now, believe me, and you can send your people to check, every government center is now fully full with these youngsters who want to get cured. So I'm happy that way we've done something. So while we have enforcement, we are also doing rehabilitation work. And by God's grace, I hope we'll get our youngsters out of this. A lot of them want to get out, but they're stuck. And then gradually, they're getting medical treatment and they will come out. So I hope that it works.
And, obviously, most of the problem is, the hard drugs, the heroines, and, things that you take through a needle. And do you have a view on, on the soft drugs? I mean, I don't know, just marijuana.
Well, I heard the Chief Minister of Himachal say that he's thinking of whether it should be marijuana should be legalized.
Yeah,
it will have to be a national debate. It can't be decided.
What's your view on that?
Look, it's difficult to take a view on this at the moment. At the moment, I can only tell you that anything to get the children off hard drugs, but it has to be a consensus. National consensus on this. It can't be done by Himachal or by Punjab or by somebody else. My marijuana's my biggest weed in the garden, in my own home garden. You have to pull these dash things out every few days. The Mali pulls them out. They grow everywhere. What do you want to stop? Or poppy husk. Poppy husk comes from all over the place, and it's mainly Madhya Pradesh. I took this issue up last time. I said with Vajpayee ji, I said Madhya Pradesh is allowed to grow and sell poppies. Okay, opium. Rajasthan is not allowed to grow it, but it's allowed to trade in it. And who becomes the market? Punjab, because I'm next to Rajasthan.
Right.
And if Punjab has money, so let's do this. And this is another side which comes from. So it's a problem that will have to be tackled at the national level. We can't tackle it on our own.
You're strong. You're a staunch federalist. You always have been, and in the American in America, which started legalizing state by state, they took it as a state subject. Is this at all in anybody's radar centrally?
Sorry.
Is this idea of legalizing marijuana? Is it at all in anybody's radar in the central government?
And nobody's talked. I haven't talked to anyone, but I only saw the first statement made by somebody, which was the Chief Minister of Himachal. He must have thought over this problem, and he made this statement just, I think, a couple of days ago, in which he says that we are looking at this possibility of doing this. But it'll have to be a national decision. It can't be done by us or by him alone, because it's a weed. It grows here as a weed. You may not have the very sophisticated varieties, but whatever variety is available, it's here. My Malis are very busy pulling it out every day from the garden.
Right. Vandita, should we go to the audience? You have a question before we go to the...
We can go to the audience.
Okay. Can I please ask Mr. Jagjit Singh Majha, Chairman, CMD of PCL Housing. Please unmute yourself and... Mr. Majha? Okay, maybe come back to him then. Mr. Ajit Gulabchand, Chairman of HCC Limited. Ajit, are you here?
Yeah. So, first of all, to my CM, my captain, a bouquet from Kadai, Punjab, on completion of a very successful 4 years in government, and wish best of luck for the year to come and for the election year also. Please accept, sir, because there are social barriers, and I am providing this. CM, sir. Sir, I am president of Kadai, Punjab, the largest real estate stakeholders platform. It's a national body. I am representing as a president of Kadai, Punjab.
Go ahead, Mr. Maja. Do you have a comment or a question?
My major concern is that I am from a sector which is the second largest employer after agriculture, contributing 8% to the GDP of the country, with the potential of going up to 13% to the GDP by the 2025 if the things go in the right way. And we are providing support to 269 industries, ancillary industries. My question is that due to pandemic, we have suffered a lot. Is there any special package in a year to come for the real estate? We are looking from the CM, sir. Lot of expectations of the realty sector players are there. I am from the youngest city of India, New Chandigarh. It's an upcoming city with good infrastructure and well-planned kind of infrastructure. And we are looking for good initiatives from the government for the realty sector. My dear CM, we have got expectations that the international airport, which is international by 1 or 2 flights, the Dubai or Sharjah, it should become truly international so that the youth settled abroad can come and contribute to the growth of the state. It will be real economy booster and a catalyst if we provided a true international status. This is my mission because this is the thing which is the need of ours, sir. And we look forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Firstly,
the problem is in every state. It's not just yours. The realty sectors, every year in Maharashtra, we keep hearing the same thing.
But let me tell you something. I think first I'd like to, of course, mention about the airports. We've got 3 international airports. We've got Chandigarh, we've got Halwada, which is coming up, and Amritsar. And that is going to cover Ludhiana and all that belt. Now, in addition to these international airports, we have others also. We have Bathinda, Pathankot, and we've got Adampur, and also we are covered fairly well on that score. To have number of flights, that number of flights is unfortunately COVID pushed us back, but number of flights depend on international agreements. And ICAO, I think, is they are in the process of talking to various other countries. Because if we want to go to Dubai twice a day, then we have to allow the Dubai aircraft to come here twice a day. So it seems to be reciprocity on that. So that they have to see. As far as your urban business is concerned, I think you know yourself that for some strange reason, Chandigarh has the price, real estate prices have risen by 25% in 1 year. And despite COVID, despite everything, Chandigarh is 25% more than last year. And the predictions for Chandigarh are that it's going to grow another 25% by next year. So I hope that's good news for you. And as far as the rest of Punjab is concerned, yes, we've had problems during COVID. COVID mainly because your construction workers and labor and all went back. I had to send back about 470 trains from here full of laborers back to their homes. But they've all returned and things are working again. So I hope if this is what's happening in Chandigarh, it'll start happening in the rest of Punjab too. And that if there's anything we can do to assist you, please tell us. We'll be there. We are there for you on that.
Mr. Ajit Gulabchand, Ajit ji.
Okay, sir, can you unmute yourself? Ajit sir, can you unmute yourself? Okay, here we are. You got
Yes,
me now?
please. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Digi, please go ahead.
Can we take the conversation to a little more futuristic one? I have two questions, one on the economic front and the other on the geopolitical front. The first on the economic front. Punjab's population is approximately the size of Scandinavia, part of Netherlands put together. When do you expect the GDP of Punjab to be the same or better than these countries? In which year? What is our target? What's your hope? What do you think will need to be done to get there? But when do you think we will reach there? Because no use having only local benchmarks. The second important.
Please, sorry, interrupting. Please.
You are a borderline state. You have been hurt by every war we've had with Pakistan. Even the partition, which was a non-war war, you got hurt. What do you think is the defense of the 21st century for India that will allow Punjab to protect itself and also, therefore, as a result, create peace with Pakistan? Thank you.
Well, firstly, on this issue of Pakistan, I think, nobody wants war. Least of all, a soldier wants war. None of us. We are all trained for that. That's our job. But we want peace. Nobody wants to see their colleagues being shot. In that little stretch, when in 1965 in Punch, we did one attack there. And in that little stretch of 100 yards, I lost 40 of my colonel and 39 men killed and 101 wounded in 100 yards. All friends, all colleagues, and all done in that one stretch. So that is something no soldier wants. But it's our job. Everyone has a job. You have your journalistic job. Somebody is doing something or the other in the country. And it's our job to protect our borders. So that is one thing you must understand. As far as how it's going to end, it is not in our hands. We are there to defend the country. It is for the country to decide. It is the government of India that it must, whatever it wishes to do, let them bring peace with Pakistan, let them bring peace with China. And that is the way that Punjab can secure itself. There is no other way. Otherwise, they will continue to come across. They will continue to do it. We will continue to catch them or kill them or something or the other. And I think that's not the answer. Answer that it has to eventually end. So this is something that must be done. As far as the economy is concerned, you must remember that Punjab has been devastated 3 times. First in 1947, when the whole of West Punjab went, and all right from Peshawar down to Multan is now there, is Pakistan, Punjab. So we lost all one bit there. Second bit we lost in 1966 when the Akali Dal in its wisdom decided to, because they wanted to become all Sikh state so that they could always have a government in power, they decided that wherever there's a concentration of Hindus, push them out. So that's what they did. And they threw the whole of Kangra out, they threw the whole of Himachal out, they threw the whole of from the Ghaggar River right up to Delhi, which was all gone. Haryana, they created everything they did just for their selfish reasons. So at that time, because of the confrontation which we kept having with Pakistan, a very able chief minister of ours, Sardar Pratap Singh Cairo, he had decided to shift in the industrial belt further towards Delhi. So you have Faridabad and you have Ghaziabad and you have Gurgaon. Now that went, here we had nothing in this area except little bit of industry along the GT road, Ludhiana being a little hub, otherwise along the GT road. So we never really had industry and nobody concentrated on that because the entire government's effort went into Punjab to produce food for it. That is my grouse with the government of India. That when you needed us, we did it. And when you don't need us, you push us out, which is happening with the farmer thing at the moment. Now that is my grouse. But here we have to bring in industry. You can't have a modern economy growing on growing wheat and paddy and rice and maize or something. It has to be industry. We have been very fortunate that in this last few years, I've been able to persuade people and they've come and they put, as I said earlier, 7,100 crores has already gone on the ground. And I hope that's going to fructify. Buildings are coming up, so it's going to fructify soon. But I think we need much more than that. Whatever policies are necessary, I was looking at some papers the other day there were 129 application permission that are required for by under 19 different ministries have to give 129 clearances before you can put up a plant here. It's an absurd antediluvian sort of systems which are still in place. So I had a meeting just 3 days ago, and I said I want that all out. People should be able to come, shove down, put in the industry, and once they put in the industry, give them 1 year or 2 years to get whatever clearance is required, but not this 129. Get them something which they can sort of, the government is satisfied and they can get on with their jobs. That's not their jobs to get 129 clearances. I would get highly frustrated within a few days and walk out of Punjab if this is the way things are going. So I think we have a good set of officers now working on it, and our industrial department, our chief secretary, all of them, and we'll clear this up very soon. So that is one of the things. One is bureaucratic snags. Second is our geographical location, which is unfortunately, we've lost all our industrial belt. Otherwise, Faridabad and Gurgaon would have contributed a great deal to our growth, which is contributing to Haryana. Haryana is we broke up in a ratio of 60-40. We are 60%, they are 40%, but their revenue is more than us because of those two industrial houses and the taxes that they collect from there. So, you know, we have suffered over these last 70 years this way, but the Punjabi spirit is still alive, and I think we will clear it up from the government point of view, and I think people should come here because our people very hardworking, their production is very good. I remember talking to CEO, managing the chairman of a group which had the Goetze group, it was called, in Patiala. And here they were making pistons and piston rings. Their main headquarters was in Stuttgart. And he told me that the output of the Punjabi boy in his factory in Patiala is as much as that one in Stuttgart. So that is something that, you know, it shows that the Punjabi is a good hard worker. And that is what I'm counting on, their hard work, change of the laws, which makes it simpler for people. And we must also count on the fact that Government of India must step up its efforts to bring about peace with our neighbors so that we can get on with our economy and rather than concentrate on our borders.
Thank you. Can I ask Mr. Sanjeev Navangul, CEO and MD of Bharat Serums and Vaccines?
Sir, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. I have a question in two parts. One is that, you know, because of your expertise, can you shed a little bit light on, we always talk about targets on food production, but probably up the value chain on food processing and storage, we don't talk much about it, and that has not been something where India has been successful. And you come from a place where you have expertise and you have a lot of food that gets produced. Is there a way to ensure that we really up the value chain there and really become a powerhouse there, because that will change a lot of stuff? And second part of the question is that ultimately at some point of time, for environment reasons, stubble burning has to close down. What is it that can be done by everyone to ensure that stubble burning really goes down?
Well, firstly, on your first part, I think we must remember that there's no stoppage of any food processing industry coming in here. As of today, I have Pepsi working here, I have ITC working here, they're all here doing this, apart from Nestle's and all who are in the milk product. I think we've got 4 or 5 large, Amul is here also, from Gujarat, they've come here, they're working here. We've got things working all over the place. There's no question because milk, for instance, is our second crop. But apart from that, the snack food industry, Pepsi is making snack foods here. There is ITC making snack food somewhere else. So if anyone wants to come for the food industry, we have no objection at all. We are surplus in food, we are surplus in potatoes. There comes a time when once this year prices have been a bit better, but otherwise people have been dumping their potatoes on the side of the GT road because they can't even recover the harvesting costs. So that has been happening. So that was your first question. And second was, what was the second one? Well, I'm sorry, I couldn't get what your second question was.
It was so the second question was on stubble burning. Can it really die?
Yes, And unfortunately, we have a lot of wheat, because whenever wheat and paddy is how we have virtually in that crop, virtually everybody's growing wheat and paddy also, apart from a little in southwestern districts where cotton is grown. And in the western, northwestern districts, little sugarcane comes. Otherwise, it's all wheat and paddy. So we have a lot of this. Now, wheat is not a problem because wheat is used as cattle fodder. So our cattle eat it. They don't eat paddy straw. Paddy straw, now the latest thing which is going in is for either generation of power. We have a number of plants coming up in Fazilka and that side. I think there are 4 plants which have come and actually into production, producing power. And the other thing, they're making briquettes for industry wherever industry has furnaces to shift from here. So I understand this problem which you are all faced with, because the prevailing winds are westerlies, and the westerlies carry the smoke to Delhi. Haryana adds to it, and it goes to Delhi, and then Delhi becomes smog bound and all these sort of things. I believe that. I understand that problem. But you must understand, and that is why I told the government, I said, give 100 rupees an acre more to the farmer, so that he can then plow in he can take one extra operation in which he can pull out the roots and stack them on a side. And that way, otherwise the farmer has no option. He's not making money, he can't feed his children, then you expect him to use his own money to plow up the stubble and stack it on the side. He can't afford it. So I said, please give them 100 rupees extra per acre. That means, it really amounts to nothing. And people can then do their operation and pull it out. So let's hope some combination will work in the future. But at the moment, unless the government of India comes to the rescue, I don't see a farmer. 75% of my farmers own less than 5 acres of land. They can't feed their families. And how can I ask them that out of this money, you have to also plow up your farm and do this?
Great. Mr. Arvind Sahai, Professor at IIM Ahmedabad. Professor Sahai, are you here? Okay, I think we'll come back to him. Can we get... here? Okay, I think we'll come back. Can we get Mr. P. Krishnamurthy, Chairman of P. Krishnamurthy and Associates?
You can proceed to the next one.
Yeah, Mr. P. Krishnamurthy.
He's not here. You can proceed to the next one.
Chandrakant Salunke, founder and president of the SME Chamber of India.
Yes, Captain sir, good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, congratulations for playing very important and vital role, because one side is a Pakistan and other side a Hindustan. So you have to focus on the growth of your state. That is one. Second, I am representing SME Chamber of India, which is one of the largest membership organizations in India. And we focus more on the business development for the SME sector. Those are into manufacturing and other sector. As one of my friend has already asked question about how you will encourage more industry in Punjab, because there is a huge raw material is available related to food industry, food processing industry. But food processing industry, along with that, there are plenty of industries dependable. So I know I have attended one or two programs of the investment Punjab, and where I found there is a lack of communication between the organizations like us, because your officials are focusing more on the CI and FICCI. But we are also one of the largest membership organization. I want to suggest to you, why not set up one exclusive desk for SME? Maybe industry department or industry commissioner must be handling that. But we want to have a proper SME desk where SMEs from all India level can think about investment in Punjab. Also, the SMEs from the global market can come and knock the door of the setting of business there. And this is a huge opportunity for currently. The last question is politically, why you are not suggesting the good captain for the Congress? Because we want another party equally to face challenges with the BJP, not only a single party, but should be a very strong party to face the challenges. Thank you.
Well, about the party, I've already mentioned that the way we are and the way we are hoping to in a couple of months' time we will have a new president and then the party will reorganize itself. I'm not worried about this. If the party has too much experience to be concerned about this from that point of view, we will find somebody and manage the situation very well. As far as your coming to Punjab is concerned, we would welcome you anytime. CII is here, so CII we meet. But if you ask, if you want to come and organize something here, please tell me. I will organize it for you. I will help you organize it, and we'll bring your people here, and all we'll have a meeting. No, but there's no monopoly with CII or somebody else. We would like everyone to come and be part of our Punjab growth situation. So whether it is CII or CHU or SHM or whoever they may be, we would like everyone to come, and we are there to welcome you and to sit with you and try and see how we can help in whatever proposals you have.
Thank you. Nalini Singh, Director, TV Live India.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, sir, Captain Saab. Two questions. You have spoken extremely eloquently about the Congress Party's prospects and the talent at the top. But looking at the performance and the repeated defeats of the Congress Party, but not writing it off at all in the future, would you say that actually the Congress Party or people like you, in your hearts, you're looking at 2029 rather than 2024 Lok Sabha, because you do not have the sharp elbows of the BJP. It seems to be able to sweep everything away. And the Congress Party with this G23 and the fact that they are asking for urgent reforms, and you're kind of saying that the new president will usher these in. But so is it 2024 rather than, is it 2029 that you're looking at, where you can really make a dent, which is only about, let's say, if you give this as a pandemic year, that's about 6 years away. This is 2 years away. May I just ask one other question? You were very dismissive of General Bajwa, and maybe that's perfectly right. But what one hears that the UAE initiated this kind of told the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to have a friendlier or cease hostilities. How do you read this? That the deepest heart of the Islamic hub, UAE, should be nudging an Islamic Republic to become closer to an increasingly Hindu India?
Well, first, let me take this one. It's fresh in my mind at home. Whenever, now take the last chief, the Pakistani chief. Who is he? What has he become? He's become head of the Arab, all these Islamic states in the Central Asian area. They have made him the commander-in-chief, sort of a chap who looks after, or the planning thing, who looks after the whole system. So they have their own system of looking at it. But economy also tries to makes a person change. And today our relationship with our friends in the Islamic world are becoming warmer. And I think that could be an avenue which could be used by our country and our friends to bring peace with the Islamic world. We are at friendship with a lot of them, but I'm talking about people like Pakistan and all, and we can do that. So they can play a role in that. And as far as being dismissive of General Bajwa, the facts are facts. The man is not in a position to call the shots himself. He operates according to his corps commanders. I don't know how many corps commanders there are now. They run the whole show, and he has to have them on board. He He has to have the ISI on board. He has to have the civil government on board. He's going to have the Prime Minister on board. He's going to have all these people on board. Has he taken them on board, or is he just shooting off on his own? This is something that it's not something that it can, to end a 70-year-old conflict, I'd be all for it. We can end this and get on with our business of living. But it's to me, I don't think that everyone will be on board. I know one thing, that the ordinary people of Pakistan want peace. I've got a lot of friends. Don't forget Patiala. I'm from Patiala, and 40% of Patiala went to Pakistan. They were Muslims, and I keep in touch with a large number of them. Whenever I went, twice I've been to Pakistan. They gave me the utmost affection and love and regard, and that is the way it should be. And I hope that politics doesn't obstruct it anymore, and that somehow what Bajwa is saying is likely to work. I hope it works. But unless he knows the situation of the past 70 years, unless the entire country, the military, the establishment, military and the establishment are on board, it's not going to work. That's the first thing. What was the second one?
First thing was about the whether Congress is looking at 2029 and not 2024.
Why should we say Congress 2029? I think let's see now what's happening now in the next few days. We will see what the situation emerges there, and then don't forget that when I was in Parliament once, there were only 2 BJP MPs, and the rest were all Congress, 450 something odd congressmen. And then the situation changed, so it can change fast. This is India, and the Indian voter is very smart. And I've seen the Indian voter, how they react. And every time you assume something, I've seen your these surveys and all that come out, something else turns up, because they haven't caught the mood of the nation. And the mood of the nation is that the Indian voter is very smart now, and he is not going to be taken in by communalism or something. I think secularism is very much in the blood and in the veins of the Indian. And I think India wants secularism, and it wants a secular democracy to continue as it came up in 47, and as I hope it will continue.
We'll take 2 more questions, Captain Sab. Mr. Barry O'Farrell, Australian High Commissioner. Sir, can you just unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you very much. Firstly, can I congratulate Indian Express for a great initiative that provides a platform to a respected government leader, but also to voters, which of course supports that accountability that's part of both of our systems. My question to the Honourable Chief Minister.
You can't hear the High Commissioner? Okay.
My question to...
A comment, and I will repeat it to him. Please go ahead.
My question to the Chief Minister is both geostrategic and economic. In the post-COVID world, what opportunities are there in states like Punjab for countries like Australia that are strong allies of India to invest, to trade more, and to help both our economies recover?
Captain Saab, he's asking what opportunities are there. Did you hear it?
At the moment, we don't have. I heard that last bit. At the moment, we don't have much Australian interest in India, but in Punjab. But we would certainly welcome anything. We are, Excellency. Now that very nice of you to have asked this, but we would welcome anything. So a group of Australia that wishes to come to Punjab, please tell us. We will ensure it there. If you want me to go to Australia to meet them, I'll be happy to go and meet them there. Or you will send them here to me, and we will do anything we can, because I want everyone to come. I don't know whether they are from New Zealand or Australia or from Japan or from Sweden or from anyone. I want Punjab is a welcome destination for all industry that wishes to be with us, and we would welcome them all. And I'm sure that would benefit your industry, and it would also benefit us as a state.
Thank you, sir. Last question, we'll take it from Suman Berry, a board member of the Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation.
Thank you, and thank you, Chief Minister. I'm an economist, and I'm also a proud Punjabi. You mentioned, as it were, some of the historic reasons for Punjab specializing in agriculture. But it is also the case that you and other chief ministers have had the benefit of advice from some of India's most distinguished economists, including, of course, Dr. Manmohan Singh. And my question to you is, what practical ideas have they given you about how to close the gap, say, with Haryana? Because there was a stage at which Punjab was one of the richest states in the Union, but now you're at about number 19, Haryana is about number 5. So what are some of the animating ideas that have guided you in your 4 years, and have economists been helpful?
Well, we have set up a committee under Mr. Ahluwalia, Montek Ahluwalia, and it's as to how Punjab should grow, in which direction we should go. It's covering agriculture, it's covering industry, it's covering education, it's covering works. And we've got eminent people from all over the world who are part of this committee. We've had the first report, which has come in, and there are some issues. You know, some issues we can adopt straight away. Some issues are political. For instance, one of the suggestions was to do away with this sort of thing, which is now the farmers are agitating for. And I can't accept that, because so you know, we have to be selective in what we can possibly do, because you know, otherwise I would be crossing the Lakshman Rekha as far as the agriculture sector is concerned. And because they want me to do what the BJP has done, and I can't do that. So these sort of things we are doing, where they're going to make other suggestions. They're going to send me the whole program of theirs finally when the paper comes, when he gives it to me, and then we will go through it with a fine-toothed comb and see where and what we can do. But I can tell you this, you are an economist, I don't have to tell you, I've got to get my industry moving. I don't have an industry worth the name, and that is going to be our future. So whatever that industry may be, what contribution we are surplus in power, we have, you can go the food industry way, you can go any way, whatever we can contribute, we can give land, we can give these sort of things. But we eventually, we'll have to go through that report when it comes, and then decide what they say and how it can gel into some sort of a proposal for the future.
Great. Captain Saab, I'm going to ask you just 2 minutes. I'm going to try a rapid fire with you. So the first kind of response that comes to you, and just, you know, try to have fun with it, and we'll just sort of go, you know, just to see how it takes us. A military leader you admire?
Field Marshal Manekshaw, General Harbakh Singh, Field Marshal Rommel, Field Marshal General Patton. I mean, these are all military leaders of my age, of our age, not the earlier ones. And you have Napoleon, a great genius. These are sort of things that are there in the past. But yes, these are the ones that I've worked with and I've seen.
Your biggest regret?
Biggest regret? Leaving the army. Okay. I left the army because my father went off as an ambassador, and my mother was in parliament, and my brother was in the army, and I was in the army, and one of us had to quit. And I just didn't, I would have loved staying on. Now, of course, I've been a retired soldier, but I would have carried on then.
Okay. Your first love?
Don't ask me that now. Come on.
I wasn't suggesting a person. I was just suggesting.
I'll tell you. My first love, I'll tell you. My first love has been gardening. Always has been gardening. And you should come and see the garden here. It's in full bloom at the moment.
In fact, my next question was going to be, and I've done my research, so I know you love gardening. So my next question was going to be to choose between gardening and writing.
Both. They are different things altogether. Gardening, you can't spend all day in the garden, but you can sit in your office and write. And I'm writing that book now, so it's good. I hope I'm out soon.
Is there a favorite wartime story you can share with us? And not necessarily yours, any wartime story.
There's so many things when you're writing. You know, I've written 6 books on military history.
Yes.
So there's so many issues that come and confront
you. Is there that one thing, that one incident that you think that left a lasting impression on you?
Well, if you are talking about history, then I think Waterloo is something that is a very interesting place. I've been to Waterloo, incidentally. I studied the battle on the ground. Both General who wrote this Monsoon War with me, both of us went there, and we paced it and we walked it and we saw what the distances were and all. So it was very interesting. That is what I saw. Then of course, I went to Ypres, where my own regiment fought, and I followed them on the path with the military historian. So these are things that are very interesting. In India, I think it's been how we contained Operation Gibraltar, which was when these fellows sent 7 columns across on the 1st of July, and they wanted to penetrate Kashmir and operate in various areas, kill, assassination, blowing up dumps and roads and bridges and all, and how the General Harbakh Singh dealt with it. You know, when I arrived when we were in Pathankot, I'll tell you a little story, just 2 minutes.
Yes.
We were in Pathankot, and this message came that the airport had been abandoned, and the enemy had entered Badami Bagh cantonment. And so General said, get an aircraft. So we got an aircraft, and I remember Wing Commander Chandan Singh, MVCN Bagh, great airman, he was flying it, and we went over the Banihal Pass, and there was a whiteout in Srinagar and in the valley. And then when we got to this point, the General turned around. General was sitting in one seat, the Wing Commander was flying it, and I was in the seat behind. And he said, sir, I think we are over Srinagar. Should we make an attempt? And we couldn't see Srinagar, couldn't see the mountains. So we just spiraled down, landed right spot on the airfield. We went right into the airfield center and switched off. And we took a platoon of stick light infantry with us. So they surrounded the aircraft, and the General got out and looked out, nothing. Airport had been abandoned. There was nobody there. So then we found a driver who had been with the Sikh Light Infantry platoon, and there was an old, the Indian Airlines used to have grey buses in those days. So those grey bus was brought, and the fellow fixed the wires and got it to run. And the General in front with the driver, I behind him, 2 LMG on top, and the bus full of soldiers. We drove off till we saw the corps, about a mile or 2 down the road, the corps commander was coming up, General Katoch, to pick us up. So that was an interesting part. And there was nothing there. It was just panic. So the Air Force was abandoned. The airport was abandoned. Not a policeman. Forget about that. No airman, no air control, ATC, nothing. And similarly was the case when we went into Badami Bagh. There was firing, but firing used to take place in that place all the time. But nothing in Badami Bagh. Just panic. So these are stories which are very interesting.
Wonderful. My last rapid fire question: one thing you like about our Prime Minister?
Look, I've known Mr. Modi since we were chief ministers together. He was chief minister of Gujarat, I was chief minister of Punjab, 2002, 2007. So we got to know each other when we used to meet in all the chief ministers' conferences, and we were very friendly. Even after that, when he ever visited Punjab, and once, for instance, I met him in Amritsar, he was coming in and I was going out. So one's kept that way nice. He has his own outlook to life, whether you agree with that or not, but he's determined. And what he done, I think that's one thing, that there should be no vacillation. One should be clear in the mind what you want to achieve and do it. And I think that is one policy. That one thing I like about him is that whatever he does, he's quite clear in his mind what he wants, and he goes ahead with it. There's no waffling. Let's put it this way. And that, I think, is the worst thing in any administrator. If you just beat around the bush. You can't run a state by beating around the bush. So that, I think, is one state. Otherwise, I don't agree with many of his policies. I've said that to you. I've said that. I don't agree with his agriculture policies at all. I don't agree with this business of turning the country into a Hindutva state. I don't believe that. I believe in secularism. I believe in my country's secular freedom, secular democracy.
Thank you so much, Captain Singh. It's really been an incredible conversation. I'm very grateful to you. Thank you to our sponsors, PCL Housing, the presenting partner. Thank you to MIDC, Sonalika, Surya, and Experion. And thank you to all the guests who've joined us. And, I know there's a lot of webinar fatigue, but I guess Captain Saab brings out and makes that quite easily, changes all that fatigue for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Anant. Yeah.